Good evening. The latest employment figures show an unexpectedly large drop in the number of people out of work. The number of those without a job in the UK has fallen below 2 million. That brings the rate of unemployment down to 6%, which is the lowest rate since 2008. And the number of people out of work since last August fell by more than 500,000. That's the biggest annual fall ever. The Chancellor, George Osborne, says it's evidence the government's economic plan is working. Wage growth, though, remains stuck below inflation, and shares in London fell heavily today, reflecting large falls elsewhere in global markets. Our economics editor, Robert Peston, reports.
Switching on high-tech Britain. We don't have enough of it, but what we do have is growing, even here at Longbridge in Birmingham, where we used to make those famous Austins and, well, those infamous Rovers. Newish businesses like ByteSnap's Design are hiring again.
Certainly the amount of projects that we're getting in at the moment, it's looking like we're going to need some more people on board, basically.
ByteSnap are a drop in the ocean of a record one-year fall in unemployment to 1.97 million people. And the proportion of the workforce with jobs is 73%, which is almost back to the all-time record. But a big part of the most recent fall in the unemployment rate was a rise in the economically inactive of 113,000. That's those who say they can't or don't want to work.
The unemployment numbers tell a story of a very buoyant economy. But there was another number out today to do with wages which told a very different story. Average earnings in August rose just 0.7%. That was less than half the rate of inflation prevailing at the time. So why is this a boom that seems to be making millions of people poorer?
One reason why wage growth is weak is that there are still huge numbers of highly qualified people looking for full-time employment, like Ebony Andrews, who recently received her PhD.
So currently I'm earning under the tax threshold, so even though I am working part-time, my hours don't reach that. What could you do? It is difficult, but I'm just really happy that I have got the job that I do have.
Here's what may be a concern. We may have seen the best of the jobs and economic recovery, or so investors fear. Shares in the UK today fell 2.83%. The price investors charge the US government to borrow plummeted to almost 1.9%, a sure sign they're gloomy and don't want to take risks by investing elsewhere. And the oil price dropped near to $83 a barrel, its lowest since just after the Great Recession in 2010.
What does what we've learned today tell us about when the Bank of England is likely to push up interest rates?
Well, today's figures actually showed some slowing in the rate of employment growth. And indeed, the large fall in unemployment was driven mostly by a rise in inactivity rather than more people in jobs. So if you put that together with yesterday's figures, which showed the inflation rate falling to a very low level, I think it puts off the prospect of a rise in interest rates in the near term.
Here in the middle of Britain, Birmingham, economic confidence still better than it was, but perhaps a bit dampened. Robert Peston, BBC News.
Comments by the government's welfare reform minister that some disabled people aren't worth the minimum wage have sparked outrage among MPs and disability charities.